9 American doctors who have volunteered in Gaza have written an open letter to US President Joe Biden describing the horrors of what they've witnessed there. With foreign journalists banned from reporting freely in Gaza or reporting at all, the physicians say they are the only acting independent monitors on the ground in many ways. I want to read from just part of that letter. Quote, "We wish you could see the nightmares that plague so many of us since we have returned. Dreams of children maimed and mutilated by our weapons and their inconsolable mothers begging us to save them. We wish you could hear the cries and screams our consciences will not let us forget. We cannot fathom why you continue arming the country that is deliberately killing these children en masse." Now, one of the contributors to that letter, Dr. Feroze Sidhwa, is a trauma surgeon who volunteered at the European Hospital in Khan Yunis in Gaza. He joins me now from New York, and thanks for doing so. An article you co-authored for Common Dreams was headlined this: "As surgeons, we have never seen cruelty like Israel's genocide in Gaza." It was a powerful article. You've had a lot of experience treating trauma injuries. How bad was it for you and your colleagues?
I think before the commercial, you described it as hell on earth, and that's pretty accurate. When I was there from March 25th to April 8th, I was in Khan Yunis at the European Hospital, and at the time, that was probably the best resourced city block in all of Gaza. And despite that, it was exactly that. It was hell on earth. Massive, overwhelming. The hospital was just massively overwhelmed with the wounded. The hospital, just like every hospital in Gaza, was itself a displaced persons camp. There were about 10 to 15,000 people sheltering on the grounds. There were 4 toilets available for them. There was no way for them to consistently get food or electricity. It was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. The letter itself speaks of nearly half of the authors having seen pre-teen children shot in the head or chest. What sorts of things did you see, and what made you think it was deliberate targeting of children?
Yeah, just a correction. Actually, it says that everybody who worked in the emergency room, the ICU, or the operating room saw children, young preteen children who had regularly been shot in the head. I was there for 14 days, like I mentioned, and I saw 13 kids shot in the head. And the thing I would just emphasize to everybody is I'm not even the person they call when a kid gets shot in the head. So I happened to find them if I was walking through the emergency room, which is usually where I worked, or through the ICU. But this is happening throughout Gaza in the catchment area of every hospital on a regular, if not daily basis.
Yeah, single shots to the head are hard to be accidents. Yeah. The physical aspects of what you saw is horrific enough, but the letter also speaks to something pretty important. What was described as nearly universal psychiatric distress in young children, some who were suicidal or said they wished they had died. I mean, you have to wonder, with the natural resilience of kids, how bad things are for them to have those thoughts.
Yeah, that's why we included it. I've worked in Haiti. I've worked in Ukraine during the Russian invasion. I've worked in southern Zimbabwe. I've worked in Burkina Faso. These are very difficult places for a child to be. I've never seen a child who was suicidal. And we're not talking about 18-year-olds. We're talking about 5-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 6-year-olds, toddlers, and slightly older. It's very unusual to see children who are suicidal in any significant number without having some underlying psychiatric disorder. And actually, I'm sure your readers or your listeners might know, but we also wrote an article for the New York Times based on a poll of the same physicians, mostly, who signed the letter, physicians and nurses who signed the letter, and we all saw the same thing. You know?
You wrote, and this article in Common Dreams is so powerful. You wrote that there was no greater pain as a humanitarian surgeon than being unable to provide needed care to a patient, and quote, "But that was before coming to Gaza. Now we know the pain of being unable to treat a child who will slowly die, but also alone because she is the only surviving member of an entire extended family." Yeah, it's important that you've revealed this stuff, but how do you and your colleagues deal with what you've seen and had to treat?
Uh, Different ways for different people, to be sure. For me, I've worked in these settings, and I happen to know something about the Israel-Palestine conflict, so I knew what I was going to see when I was there. But I'll tell you, I was the only person on my group of 13 or 14 people who didn't break down crying at some point while there. I'm the only person from the trip that doesn't have nightmares on a regular basis. Um, it's hard, but one of the things that we do find some solace in is actions that can hopefully get this insanity
Yeah.
stopped. The long and short of it is we need to stop sending arms to Israel so that this lunacy will stop.
Yeah, and to that point, the letter is obviously a powerful testament to what's going on in Gaza and the horrors of it. And of course, it calls on the Biden administration to act. What specifically do you want the administration to do? And perhaps more importantly, and maybe depressingly, do you have any faith you'll even be heard?
So the letter calls for a few things. The most important is a ceasefire, but that it's very obvious that the Israelis don't want a ceasefire, so it has to be imposed, and that can be done very easily just by withholding our own arms. And someone might say, but that would leave Israel defenseless, and I agree, so that wouldn't be good. And that's why the U.S. should also announce that it'll participate in an international arms embargo on Israel and all Palestinian and Lebanese armed groups. That would be a very simple step, and that would stop the violence almost immediately. But in addition to that, we pointed out that there are lots of just kind of petty and ridiculous things that the Israelis are doing. Like they're not allowing physicians of Palestinian descent to go into Gaza to treat people. That's just totally, even if they're Americans, even if they're Europeans, that's totally outrageous. There's no justification for that. Half of my delegation was Palestinian. They posed no security threat to anybody. It's completely absurd. The Israelis, as we all know, are blocking humanitarian aid, as the State Department, as USAID has said, and despite being overruled by the administration, that should obviously stop, leaving aside that it's just illegal for us to keep sending them arms when they're doing that. And more importantly, we asked them, no, not maybe more importantly, just as importantly, we asked them for a meeting to meet with the physicians and nurses who've been to Gaza, who've seen what it is with our own eyes, and to be able to tell Mr. Biden and Ms. Harris what we saw, what's going on, what are the effect that our weapons are having, what the Israelis are doing with them, which, to be fair, I think they know already, but I want to tell them in person. I do. As for having any faith, I have faith that our leaders will listen to us and are not monsters. I do. And we'll see if I'm right.
Yeah. I mean, the work that I've spoken to many doctors who've worked in Gaza, and the work you do is incredibly courageous and important, and hopefully you will be heard. We can't get in there either, and we would like to report on the ground. I've been there several times myself in the past. Dr. Feroze Sidhwa, I've got to leave it there, unfortunately. Really appreciate your time and appreciate the work you do.
Thank you, sir.